This video is about the importance of prenuptial agreements for the Muslim community. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Husain. I'm a divorce attorney in the Chicago community. I've been practicing as a divorce attorney for about 10 years now, and I primarily serve the Muslim community. So over these last 10 years, I've gained a lot of experience and have a very unique insight into the issues that are plaguing our community members. Because the problem that we have is that there is a big clash between Islamic law as it relates to marriage and divorce and Western laws as it relates to marriage and divorce. However, I believe that a prenuptial agreement can help bring these two worlds together and allow us Muslims to practice our religion in the social sense, especially in this country. Prenuptial agreements for the Muslim community are very important, but really to understand why, we have to understand a few aspects of the law as it relates here in Illinois or in the West. So the first legal concept that we need to understand is something called marital property. Marital property is essentially any asset or debt that's acquired from the date of marriage to the date of divorce. And the issue is that it doesn't matter whose name is on that account. It could be your retirement account, it could be your pension, it could be a bank account, savings account, real property. It doesn't matter. What really matters is when was this property acquired. The second issue to understand the importance of a prenuptial agreement relates to maintenance. So maintenance or alimony, as otherwise known, are payments that are made after the end of a divorce. Okay, and these payments can go on for many months, many years, and could be thousands of dollars. Now, from the Islamic perspective, this concept of alimony and maintenance isn't necessarily found in our tradition. However, with a prenuptial agreement, we can change or modify these alimony or maintenance provisions. The third area to understand about Illinois law or Western law is this concept of mahr, right? Or I should say from the Islamic perspective, how the Western system treats mahr. And the problem is that this payment that we put into our one-page nikah contracts are likely not going to be enforceable in Western courts. So for those three reasons, marital property, maintenance, and mahr, this is why we really need to think about and obtain premarital agreements, because we can actually modify these three areas to conform with Islamic law. Whenever I discuss this topic of prenuptial agreements, the objection I usually get is, what are they going to think? What is society going to think? And for some reason, there's a very big stigma around prenuptial agreements. And this could really come from a few places. Obviously, it can come from our own heritage, South Asian community, the Desi community. You know, this might have to do something with romance or this idealistic view of marriage. But just as much romance there is in a marriage, we also have to think about practical aspects of marriage. Because just as love and romance and passion is going to get you through, the practical things is usually what gets in the way, and that happens to be most of the time finances. So this prenuptial agreement is an opportunity for these two parties to discuss how they want their finances to be taken care of. In order to break this misconception, or in order to remove this stigma, I believe the best way to combat this is through education. When our community understands the value of a prenuptial agreement and we are able to spread that message, that's when I believe that we can overcome the stigma. The other thing that we tend to forget is that the Islamic view on marriage is actually based off contract. So having this type of a contract, prenuptial agreement, is actually part and parcel of our tradition. So the question is, what to do before marriage if you decide that you want a prenuptial agreement? When should you bring this up? So just like we have to figure out the values of our significant other, what family they come from, what their background is, how they view the world, alongside of that is we have to become comfortable with talking about finances, because finances are really part and parcel of a marriage, as we talked about before. And so this conversation naturally is going to lead into the conversation of mahr and establishing the mahr. And this is the crux of a nikah contract, right? There's acceptance, there's offer, acceptance, and you have the mahr, which is the consideration for the marriage. And so that's a very important aspect. But the problem is, as we've indicated earlier, that mahr is not going to be enforced. Number one. And number two, a lot of times this mahr is not really thought through. It's not really negotiated. It's not really, meant for what it's supposed to cover. It's best to bring a prenup early on in your conversations before you get married, and really you should approach a lawyer about 6 months prior to your actual marriage so that you have time to draft, to negotiate, to respond, and make sure that this document is signed well in advance of the marriage. Islam gives us the ability to come up and to negotiate our own contracts. There are certain defaults that Islamic law places on us when it comes to marriage and divorce. However, if we negotiate at the onset of our nikahs and our marriage as to what's going to happen on divorce, whether that is a split of property, whether that is an award of maintenance, as long as those things are negotiated up front in a prenuptial agreement, those can and will be allowed and halal in Islamic law and under Islamic law. In order to have a valid prenuptial agreement, especially in Illinois, we're looking for 3 things. The first is that we want to make sure that both parties have representation by an attorney. We have to understand what we are agreeing to and what we are giving up. The second component of a strong prenuptial agreement is going to be full financial disclosure on both sides. The more you disclose, the more you're able to protect. And finally, you want to make sure that there is no duress. If we're looking at signing this on the day of your marriage, everybody's shown up, everybody's dressed up, there could be an argument that you were forced to sign this document. So we want to make sure that this is signed well in advance. Here at Farooqi and Husain, we are able to represent you through the entire process. We will help you draft the agreement. We will help you negotiate with the other side to make sure that these terms are what they want and what you want to actually be in effect. We will also set up the signing procedure. We'll make sure that these documents are valid. The other goal of Farooqi and Husain is to really educate our community on the importance of these agreements, because there's no other way to make sure that our values and our way of life is able to be implemented here without a prenuptial agreement. We at Farooqi and Husain are committed to educate the community on these issues. That's the purpose of these videos. And we hope and we pray that you are able to benefit from them and spread them across the community, because our goal is to make sure that prenuptial agreements become part and parcel of every single nikah. For more information, visit us at www.farooqihusain.com or give us a call 630-909-9114. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.